The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
We're here, and welcome to the day after the recall.
Well, I would have said good morning too, but my monitor is off, and I didn't know that we were on the air yet. So, hello everybody. I'm Chip, and this is the morning after show. The morning after the recall. So here we go. What a day! What a night! Democracy in action.
Is that what we call it?
Well, I think that with all the disparaging remarks we heard throughout this process, all the people who were called numerous names, and, you know, we proved one thing, that we vindicated not only ourselves, but the process. We had one of the largest turnouts in decades for a special election. Not a normal election with people running for president and Congress, and just a plain old local city special election. In December, on a day that wasn't that bad, but it wasn't that good, and we had 33% turnout when we normally see 12 and 15 and almost double the normal turnout. It was really great to see. The people have spoken. I would have liked to seen 85% turnout, but you know, I think we've turned the corner, CJ. I think that we've re-engaged people. I think by what happened last night, people will be inspired to stay involved in politics. They realize that if we band together, we can affect change. And as I said before, it's more important who you vote out than who you vote in.
You know, Chip, it's been an emotional night. It's an emotional day. Already the press is realigning itself right now in front of Government Center, and this started taking place at about 10 o'clock. There are other news stories coming out, and I have a big one in a few moments, but I'll tell you right now, we've been vilified, you and I personally. We've been called everything under the sun except ISIS. So, I mean, and you know, you are a Lebanese terrorist. So, but I'll tell you, Chip, Flanagan knew last night when the polls closed, when he was at 9A, and he looked at that tape that came out of the machine. He knew his career was over. His political career is over, and it's time to move on. Truly time to move on. I do have a few comments about some of the things that happened, but before I get into the recall, I have some breaking news that we definitely need to bring up right now. And you and I spoke in detail about the Amazon deal. I was vilified. I was called everything under the sun. You know, you hate Fall River. You hate the people of Fall River. You know, this is a good thing for Fall River, blah, 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 blah. Rick Oliveira, Faust Fiore, every one of them over at WSAR called me everything under the sun. And who do I think I am to be contacting the CEOs of Fortune 500 companies? Who do I think I represent? I represent me. I represent the people that don't have a voice, because nobody wanted to give it to them. Well, last night, the people took that voice back. But you know, the biggest lie of all came from the mayor, the then mayor, Will Flanagan, and the biggest of all of them is Ken Fiola and his lovely kiss-butt wife, Carol Fiola, who turned around and lied to the people of Fall River and said, we're getting Amazon. Well, guess what, Fall River? You've been screwed again. That's what you're getting. You're getting nothing. Okay? Amazon is not coming to Fall River. Massachusetts isn't going to give them what they want. And this was known weeks ago, because when I checked the agenda for this meeting to approve this TIF, Fall River wasn't on it. So why did Ken Fiola fail to release this information until this morning? You know why? Because he had a butt that he was kissing, and he had a politician to protect, just like he's got to protect his wife. And this is what you get, Fall River. You elect idiots, and this is what happens. Okay? Now you've taken back your vote. You've taken back the rights of the people of Fall River, and it's time for you to say, I'm done with this. All right? Here's another deal. 1,000 jobs we're going to get in Fall River. And I asked the questions, and I was told all of this information. But you didn't want to believe me. You didn't want to believe Chip. But guess what, Fall River? You've been shafted. You were promised everything and given nothing. Because you want to believe the lies. And those people who went out there and supported and still support, to this day, a man who's lied on a regular basis, including the Fall River Office of Economic Destruction, okay, are still saying, oh, well, you know, this is just the economic times. No, this was a lie. This was to save a job, okay? So the people who are on the traffic board who are kissing enough butt, and they know who they are, the people on the Board of Health who are kissing butt, they know who they are. Your times are over. This is done. Fall River has taken back its government. Fall River has taken back its city, and now the people of Fall River are saying to you, the elected politicians, and every one of you people who are appointed, you're next. Do it again, and you're next. You get one mulligan, baby. This is it.
Wow, I'm glad you took that Valium. You're really relaxed. I'll tell you what, but justifiably so. I mean, you know, but you did your job. You know, this is a political commentary show, but it's also a news show. You're a reporter, a credentialed reporter, as am I. You know, and you know, when we report news, we unfortunately research it, unlike some of these other news reporting or pseudo news reporting agencies. You know, last night was it was a epic, a historic victory. And as I said, I think it's a turning point in Fall River. I think people now will be inspired by the fact that they were able to take back the mayor's seat. Now it's time to not stop there. It's time to, in the next election, to replace every single person who's been a rubber stamp and just nodded their heads to these endless promises and rose-colored pictures that are painted. You know, there's an old adage, if you don't learn from history, you're doomed to repeat it. Well, I don't know how anybody in their right mind could have really taken this Amazon thing seriously. Number one, it was said that it shouldn't have been released before the election. Well, why do you think it was released before the election? To try to win the election. Have we seen this before? Yes. And an Amazon by any other name is called a casino. Because how many times did the mayor promise a casino when he got in trouble? You know, and Fiola was complicit, as is the Office of Economic Development. They lied to the people. They misrepresented. It was a guarantee. And let's face it, people, we didn't have one job guaranteed in that packet as it stood, even if we did get it. But secondly, the whole thing, you could see, it was another ploy, another promise. We didn't get any commitment that was an absolute. You know, and now, amazingly enough, the announcement comes the day after the election. I mean, you know, how dumb do they think we are? You know, for many, many years, they thought we were really stupid in this city. And I think that last night's election did more to change the image of Fall River and the rest of this state than any politician ever could. And you know who did it? You did it. The people of Fall River. You showed that people down here actually can think and actually can affect the political process. Well, contrary to what they believe up there, we showed them that we were the ones. Now they're going to do it in Saugus, and other communities are going to start doing what we did first. You know something? We did more, and you did more for the perception about Fall River throughout this state, not only throughout this country, than all the damn politicians we've had over the last 20 years. Last night showed that the people of Fall River have risen to the occasion, and this is the way we're going to begin the change, and we got to continue this in every single office, that every official who sits in any seat, school committee, city council, or the mayor's chair, they will know one thing after last night: if they don't do the job, they will be voted out. We don't need a recall. Every 2 years, we'll bounce them. And it's not about recalling everybody that makes one bad decision. But when we see people constantly supporting failing administrations, i.e., Pat Casey, Mr. President De Silva, you know, all these people that have been elected to council and sat there like bumps on a log, some for decades, and never voted against a mayoral initiative, have always told you that everything a mayor said was gospel, stood behind the mayor and held signs, even though he's lied and lied and lied again. CJ's wandering around here. I'm looking over to the side because I don't know what he's doing. He's going through Christmas presents or something. I don't know. But you know, it was absolutely inspiring to see those numbers. We can do better. This isn't the end. It's only the beginning. And we can, and it's not going to come overnight, but we can have a better Fall River, a much better Fall River, because last night was the first step. Because the first step in changing Fall River is to make sure that the people who are there to represent us truly represent us. And congratulations to every single person who got off their butts and went to the polls in epic numbers. And it's rather ironic that he lost the election by his basically 70% that he always crowed about, and he complained how a special election would not reflect the public because of low turnouts, and we doubled the turnout he had when he was elected. So the fact is, look, there's no excuses. It is what it is. This is what the people wanted, and the people of Fall River have now did themselves a great service, because people around the state are now looking at our city and saying, wow, we thought these people were just a bunch of dummies. And guess what? We got called a lot of things, including anti-Semites and a few other things. But here we go again. So let's hold their feet to the fire about Amazon. Let's talk to these people and tell them about our displeasure, about being promised something. As a fact, you know, the fact is, the old adage, don't count your chickens before they hatch.
Well,
you know, so let's
River.
stop this baloney and let's get real. When they bring something in front of the council, it better be a done deal from now on. Otherwise, they're going to pay the price.
Well, I firmly agree with you there, Chip. And, you know, the other thing that I want, you know, what I need to make very clear is all 9 of them, remember, every one of those city councilors, all 9, are all complicit in the lie. A 2.5-minute meeting to approve this TIF, which was a lie. It was a lie, okay? Linda, Dan, Mike, you all said, oh, I can't vote against it because it's guaranteed jobs for Fall River. How's your guarantee working out, guys? How's your guarantee working out? Hey, Joe Camara, why don't you get some backbone? Okay, this is ridiculous. You sold out the people of Fall River for a man on the 6th floor who was lying from the get-go. You sold out the city of Fall River for the Fall River Office of Economic Destruction, again, from the get-go. To the point that the Fall River Office of Economic Destruction and the Redevelopment Authority and the TIF Board don't even follow the law, because the complaint was filed against them for an open meeting law violation, and I had to receive a phone call from the Attorney General saying that they have to take action now because they refused to answer it. So again, Fall River, the law doesn't apply to you. Wrong. But let's get into the numbers. Last night election, 16,557 voters. We don't even get that in a primary. We don't even get that in a primary. In favor of the recall, remember, this was going to be a small amount, not representing the view of the people, 10,631 votes. Against the recall, 4,669. And I think that those 4,669 people were led off by Jean St. Pierre, Natalie Mello, Rob Bergeron, and the entire crew of wingnuts that called us everything under the sun. Now for the really good voting totals. Will Flanagan, 4,393 votes. Doesn't it say something when 4,669 people are against the recall, but the mayor only got 4,393? Even his supporters can't get it together. That was 26.83% of the vote. Paul Anderson, 115 votes, 0.7%. This is a man who needs to be slapped around a little bit and told, give it up. Ron Cabral received 79 votes, 0.48%. By the way, he came in last. Give it up already, Ron. You're doing it for the wrong reasons. The people have spoken numerous times. They don't want you. Don't run again. Do Fall River a favor. Sean Kadim, 3,068 votes, 18.74%. Not bad, coming in third. Dave Dennis, 276, 1.69% of the votes. Dave, I think you're a great guy, but you really need to look at who's going to run your campaigns, how you're going to plan them, because you're ruining any credibility you may have. It's time for you to either put forth a serious campaign or, give it up and do more good work behind the scenes than in front. Lou Mellum, 102 votes, 0.62%. Mike Mioza, 2,298 votes, which was 14.03%. Mike, you make a great city councilor. You just didn't follow through with the campaigning. The people were already calling you the people's candidate, but for some reason, somehow, you just couldn't generate those people to come out and support you. You need a good campaign manager, and nothing against the people that you had running your campaign or being your forefront of voices, but perception does become reality. And finally, Sam Sutter with 6,021 votes, 36.77%. I guess that's a very clear statement to the politicians. But I have to give credit to where credit is due, because the write-ins received 22 votes, or 0.13%. So when they come in that close to Ron Cabral, you know it's time to go. I appreciate everybody who ran, and I'm picking on Ron right now, but the thing is that when you've run for every office, it's time to give it up. I learned rather early on, after running 3 unsuccessful campaigns for myself, you know what? The people of Fall River don't want the truth. The people of Fall River don't want responsible government. The people don't want somebody who's going to step forward and say, I'm going to do what I say I'm going to do, and you may not like it. This vote may have finally changed that. But, for the most part, that's why Massachusetts in general looks at Fall River and says, you're a cesspool. Ray Mitchell and I got into a conversation about that last night. He says, I don't believe that. We just had somebody on the 6th floor that made it that way. I said, perception's a reality. But last night was interesting because I received phone calls from Colorado Springs, Colorado, congratulating me and you, Chip, on getting this job done. We tried this for two years ago, and we fought with a lot of resistance. We were crazy for doing it then, and we were crazier for trying to do it again now. But you know what? We're passionate about it. And obviously, I'm very passionate because I lost it a few moments ago with my intense emotions. But the men in the white jackets came in and gave me that injection and calmed me right down.
Well, CJ, you went over the numbers, and I think there are a few people who are potential candidates that finished pretty poorly, but it was their introduction. I think that Mr. Anderson is a fairly articulate guy. I wouldn't tell him to not run for city council. I don't really believe he had enough visibility in the community to run for mayor. I don't think people knew his background well enough, but he did prove he's got a pretty good sense of humor. He's pretty articulate. He does understand government. And I would like to see more of him on a campaign trail campaigning for city council. I'm sure he would bring a much more measured approach to evaluating what's going on in the city than some of the rocks that we have sitting in those chairs now. And you know who I'm alluding to.
Yep. But I would love to see him also as a co-host and commentator here on Spindle City Straight Talk. I think that he would be a great addition to the show.
Yeah, he does have a great sense of humor. And even Mr. Mellum, I think that he's a guy that, you know, I mean, I didn't agree with everything either one of them said, and I don't agree with everything anybody says. Sometimes I don't even agree with myself. But the fact is that, he put forth some pretty good ideas, and you know, he obviously wants to be involved. And these are the kind of people that first time outers but they showed themselves. And I think that now people will remember them. And I would like to see them in a long campaign for city council, because I think that's where the next step lies. Fall River can only change, not only at the top, we need to change the council. And it's not about everybody agreeing with the mayor, regardless of who it was, whether it was Mike Mioza or Sean Kadim or Sam Sutter. Look, he's going to get in, we're going to evaluate what he does. Let's give the man a chance, whoever the man is. Let's try to say, let's see what we're going to do with the city. We're going to move it forward. If we disagree, that's fine. But the fact is, what bothers me, it's either one end of the spectrum or the other all the time. It's always about, you either have to agree with everything the mayor says, or you have to disagree with everything, and that's not true. The fact is that, look, what we needed, as you said, as you alluded to before, CJ, to me it was a travesty, that meeting on Amazon. 2 minutes and 11 seconds for a meeting? And even though, you know, I like Danny and Linda and Ray and a lot of the councilors, and the fact is that they didn't do their service to the people of Fall River. You know, we've got to have the courage, and we've got to have councilors with the courage, just as we have to have a mayor with the courage to make the tough decisions. We have to have city councilors with the courage to say, listen, you're not going to back me in a corner again with the same old bull saying we have to vote this in or we lose it. Or I can't vote against this, or even say I want more information because it would look like I'm against jobs. Well, guess what? If this doesn't come, you know how many jobs we're going to have? 0. Big, fat 0. And was it fair to the people of Fall River? As CJ said, you were complicit in the campaign of Will Flanagan for re-election by allowing that falsehood and giving it credibility. Because without any discussion, automatic, jobs for Fall River. All you got to say, nobody can debate that. But even if you're full of shit. Right. I'm sorry.
But you know, Chip, that's the problem, okay? I never was against it. You were never against it, okay? And we called it out the way it was on this show. We said very clearly, this was a casino deal. Like it or not, this was just, again, a campaign ploy. And it was what it was. And I was crucified, I mean, for calling Amazon. I was called everything under the sun. You know, I'm against Fall River. Why don't you move away? Blah, 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 blah. You know, I'm not easy to scare off, okay? But let me tell you something. I'll do it again with the next job, and I'll do it again with the next job, and I'll do it with the next one, because you know what? That's what it's about. And again, you know, people are saying, well, you're wrong for saying all 9. You know what? No, all 9 were complicit. Give me any excuse you want, because I've heard them all from all of them, except for Pat Casey, who stood there last night looking at me like, this is your fault. But, you know, everything's my fault, everything's your fault. You know that, Chip.
Yeah, 70% of the people said it, but it's our fault. Okay.
Yeah, but, you know, the thing is that it's your right to ask questions. Just because I have access to the phone numbers of these people doesn't mean I'm special. No, I have access to the phone numbers because I get them. I work with people that do that, unlike the Office of Economic Destruction. And that name now truly fits this office. And if Ken Fiola had any backbone, if Ken Fiola had any love for the city of Fall River, as he and his wife so proudly proclaimed, Ken Fiola would resign. If this city council had any backbone, if they took pride in Fall River, they would turn around and they would say to Ken Fiola and the Office of Economic Destruction and the Redevelopment Authority, your money is gone. The city council approves that money. But you know what they're told by Mike Dion at CDA and by His Royal Highness, the Prophet Melian? Okay? Well, that's jobs. There are 2 people that need to work. So we need to keep that money going there. Otherwise, we don't get anything. The Fall River Office of Economic Destruction has provided nothing. All right, we've cleaned the top of the house. Now let's start cleaning every board, every department, and every person in city government. You need to be held accountable. I may be hated, I may not be liked for it, but you know what? The truth be told, you're all complicit. The 6th floor, right on down to the basement of Government Center, are all guilty of this travesty of violating the rights of the people of Fall River. And I have to give a special shout out to Secretary Galvin's office, who says, if you want your rights, you gotta sue for them. Well, guess what? We did that, and it cost us money. And even though your office and everyone else stepped in and tried to make this impossible, we still accomplished what needed to be accomplished in Fall River. And we won't tolerate it anymore.
Yeah,
and
well,
one last thing, Chip, before I let you take off on, because we got about 3 minutes left. I want to make it very clear to people. This is a job. Whether it's me here in the studio, on TV, or me doing my political stuff, it's a job. What I do in that job is not personal, okay? I may file 100 complaints in one day, and believe me, that takes a lot of time to do. And they're all valid complaints, and I back them all up. But it doesn't mean I dislike you. It doesn't mean I want you out of your job. It means that I want the rights upheld. And for me to be treated last night by some people that complaints were filed against, like I am the Antichrist, oh, wait a minute, I'm part of the unholy Trinity, that's right, really goes to show that maybe you shouldn't be in your job if you're going to take it all personal. I don't take things personal. It's a job. And when you're a political campaign manager or a political activist or a political pundit, like both of us have been, Chip, you know, we have to do some unfriendly things to people, even though we don't dislike them.
Well, we have to also do some friendly things, and I'll tell you what disturbs me the most. It's, you know, the mayor in one of the debates talked about humanity and about laying people off. Well, to me, it's just as objectionable and inhumane to make false promises. When you hang these carrots in front of people, the promises of jobs in a community like this where people are desperate for jobs, any kind of job, let alone a good paying job. And you do this time and time again. How many? Three bouts with the casino. Now Amazon. And as you said, it bothers me that our city councilors they're so worried about, oh, we're going to be vilified if we delay this, we're going to be against jobs. No, you're not. You're about the truth. Let's have the truth. Don't you think that your job as a city councilor is to ensure that when we tell the people of Fall River that we have something that may help them, they may have an opportunity at a job, that you corroborate that, you make sure that it's basically carved in stone? You know the old promises, you know, the checks in the mail. Now it's going to be the jobs are coming to Fall River right after the checks in the mail. You know, this is not the way to run things. You can't make promises to people. That's what politicians do, not people who are humanists. You guys did a great job. I don't know how much time we got.
We don't have any.
But kudos to every single one of you, the 33%, the 16,000 plus people that showed up. You've changed the image of Fall River, all of you, and thank you.
Thank you, Fall River. You've done a great job. Have a great day.
The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or